Hi, Oliver. I like how you did this paper. I agree with a ton of your answers here. A looks great. 3/4 is definitely bigger than 1/2. I see that you were drawing the number lines to show that, and that's a great way to show which fraction's bigger. There's only two, actually, that I disagree with, and I wanted to help you with those. I disagreed with C. You said 2/5 was bigger than 2/3, but I want to remind you, and I'm going to zoom in here, buddy. I want to remind you that the numerator is the same. So if you're thinking of my brother and if you're thinking of what he gets to eat, he gets to eat 2 slices. So I'm going to draw a pizza for you. Pretend they're equal. Pieces, please. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pieces. And my brother would get 2 of them. He's only getting 2 out of 5. But this other fraction, he's still getting 2 pieces, but check out how much bigger the pieces are. So still 2. But since there's only 3, the pieces are much bigger. Because your denominator is smaller, the pieces become bigger. So actually, I disagree with you on that one. 2/3 is bigger. And the other one I disagree with you on is G. And I know you were trying really hard to draw this one. You said 5/10 is bigger, but I want you to think about some equivalent fractions here. And I want you to think about the fact that 5/10 is actually equal to 1/2. And when we did our small groups and found equivalent fractions, I remember us finding 5/10 as one of those equivalent fractions. One way we found it was the numerator, if you double it, you get the denominator. Well, 5 doubled gets you 10. That makes them equivalent. Another way we did this on our little whiteboards when we were working on our small groups, Oliver, was we did 1/2 equals 5/10. And we said if you multiply the numerator by 5 and the denominator by 5, and if that's true, 1 times 5 is 5 and 2 times 5 is 10, that those are equivalent fractions. So if this is equal to 1/2, 2/3 is actually bigger than 1/2. And you can see that right here on your line drawing. You did a great job cutting it into 3 pieces. This is definitely bigger than 1/2. If I were to find 1/2 on that line, it would be somewhere in here. So I would say 2/3 is bigger than 5/10. For the bottom two, you don't have to draw these number lines each time. There's a lot of different ways you can explain it. But if you look at this, we could talk about having the same denominator, 100 pieces. 51 is bigger than 49. So you could just say if the denominators are the same, I'm grabbing the bigger numerator. So that would be a way to explain it. You certainly don't want to draw a number line with 100 spots on it, though. That's too much. This one you can think of in halves. So if you want to think about equivalent fractions, if I made 16ths equivalent to 1/2, that would be 8/16. So that means 7/16 is just smaller than 1/2. But also if I made 51 hundredths into 1/2, that would be 50 hundredths. That means this is just bigger than 1/2. So if this one's smaller than 1/2 and this one's bigger, 51 hundredths is the bigger fraction. So you don't always have to draw number lines. There's tons of different ways you can do it. You can use these comparing the denominator. You can make them equivalent fractions. You can draw pizzas. There's tons of different ways, Oliver. Also, make sure on Google Classroom I saved a bunch of fraction videos. We talk about that too. There's a whole section on comparing fractions in there. If you get a chance, watch those videos. Thanks, bud.